the Crosswits with number 2 down, Robert Reed.
Crossword puzzles, although millions of people around the world enjoy them, they don't really seem to translate well into game shows. The Crosswits initially did very well in the United States, going for 5 years. Much of that can be attributed to its great host, Jack Clark, and some clever clue writing. But then when they revived it in 1986, it only lasted 1 year, thanks to some less than stellar hosting from David Sparks and some lazy clue writing. Then in 2008, along came Merv Griffin's Crosswords, which only lasted a year and was marred by constant scoring and format changes, and again, less than stellar hosting from Ty Treadway. Now, the reason I talk about crossword puzzle themed game shows is because on this episode of the Games of Canada, we're going to be covering a crossword themed game show. And this is also a first for the Games of Canada, as it is an unsold pilot. Now, I've covered sold pilots before in Gutterball Alley and the Mad Dash, but this is the first unsold pilot. And you're going to see very quickly why this was unsold, because it's just not good. Ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves. This is Crossword Quiz.
It's time to play Crossword Quiz. And here's your host, Harry Spiegel.
Game show. I hope that we're all going to have a lot of fun. And I'd like to all welcome now, if you will, my gorgeous helper, Bridget O'Toole. Let's go to the board and explain a little bit about the game to everybody, so everybody's filled right in and we can all play the game and have a lot of fun.
Crossword Quiz was a crossword puzzle themed quizzer that was taped on April 7th of 1976. The Canadian Game Show's wiki claims that this was an unsold pilot, but the ultra cheap production values, even by Canadian TV standards at the time, lack of much of a set, and using Popcorn by Gershon Kingsley as its opening theme, who I doubt gave his consent, it all feels more like a run-through and not a true pilot. This might have even been some sort of college project, as it apparently was taped at a college media center. Another sign that this is a run-through is its host is also one of the co-creators of the format, Harry Spiegel. Beyond that, I can't find any more information on him. Harry's hosting is abysmal. He looks totally uncomfortable at the podium, has all the personality of a baked potato, and just seems to be going through the motions. He's joined in the Vanna White role by Bridget O'Toole. Again, I can't find any information on her. And she pretty much added nothing to the show, but a little bit of eye candy. The game is played between 2 contestants and played on a crossword puzzle. Trust me, that's a crossword puzzle if you can see it. Maybe it's just the quality of the video, but the board is almost impossible to see for the home viewers. Anyway, the object of the game is to solve the cross that appears in the center of the puzzle, running both vertically and horizontally. The puzzle is a standard one, except that in some cases, the last letter of one word will run into the next word as its first letter. For instance, in the example they gave, if the words sit and tip were next to each other, they would share the T. And this only happens sometimes, so yeah, that's not confusing at all. At the beginning of each game, a cartoon image is shown, which serves as a clue to the cross. The player in control chooses a position in the puzzle. Harry then reads a question, and 3 possible answers are shown. The first player to buzz in with a correct answer wins $50, and the right to try and guess the cross. If both players get it wrong, then Harry will instead have Bridget pick an envelope at random, and the $50 will go to a home viewer. So at least the money does get given away either way. But what's really lacking here is they went totally meat and potatoes with the questions. All the questions are a single word clue, and the contestants just simply try to pick which one of the three similarly, why is that so hard for me to say, sounding words or similarly spelled words is the synonym. They could have at least taken a page from the recently debuted Crosswits in the States and tried to come up with some clever clues. Anyway, this process continues until one player solves the cross. Whoever does so wins a bonus package. Various prizes. 3 games are played for the show, with each clue worth $100 in the second game and $200 in the third game. Both players keep whatever cash and prizes they pick up along the way, with the winner, the one who won the most money, getting the return on the next show. Now, Harry mentions at the end that said player also earns the opportunity to play a bonus game and quadruple their winnings. Yes, he said quadruple, which isn't even a word. I can only assume he meant quadruple, as in 4 times. But really, that's a moot point to bring that up, because they never even played the bonus game. My guess is they hadn't even come up with one. So, I'm going to give a piece of advice to the producers of this game. If you haven't come up with a bonus round for your game yet, then just go without one at the pilot, and don't even mention it. Just say, winner comes back tomorrow to play again. You can always add a bonus game when and if you go into production. But you don't want to draw attention to major flaws when you're trying to sell the show. And the thing is, even if they did have a bonus game, why mention it if you're not going to play it? If you can't get to it on the pilot, it just shows that there's pacing issues with the game that need to be ironed out. And you want everything ironed out as much as possible in the pilot. So clearly, there's a lot of reasons why this show never went anywhere. Harry can't host. He's boring, he has no enthusiasm for the game, and he's the co-creator. So even if the co-creator can't get enthused about the game, then how do they expect to sell it? The production values are horrendous. I mean, this wasn't just produced on a shoestring budget. This was produced on an aglet budget. And yet, despite the clearly limited production budget, the prize budget for the contestants is impressive, and actually kind of unheard of for a Canadian game show at the time. Although, granted, it's a pilot, so it's unclear if they ever actually got that money. But the fact they were saying they're going to give away all this money is probably the main reason it didn't get picked up. There's likely no Canadian network willing to throw that much money at a game show at this stage. Ultimately, just a poor effort all around. The game clearly needed more development before it got to this stage. The basic idea of using a crossword puzzle to figure out some kind of bigger puzzle, not a terrible idea. I mean, it's what the Crosswits did. But the execution here fails. They made things way too complicated and got lazy with the writing. And, may I say it again, they need someone who can actually host and make the show look good. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Game So Canada. On behalf of all of us, I'm Marc Power, saying along with your big jib draw.